All right, here's a serious question. Why isn't the FDA contacting me and asking me to test and publish the heavy metals content of all the foods that Americans are eating? Serious question. My name is Mike Adams. I'm the Health Ranger, healthrangerreport.com, and the host of talknetwork.com. I am a food science researcher. I run an atomic spectroscopy laboratory with various instruments, including a mass spec instrument, ICP-MS. And newly added this year is an LC-MS setup for liquid chromatography. We could test foods for, well, heavy metals down to parts per billion concentrations of different elements, most elements actually. We also have an ion chromatograph that can test the halogens like fluoride and bromine, chlorine, iodine, and so on. And we have the LC machine, which can test intact organic molecules, pesticides, herbicides, many other molecules, including certain vitamins, for example. And, I think I'm the only person in the world that's actually just spending all this time, money, and effort to buy foods off the shelf, test them, and then publish the results. And over the past couple of years, I've found some very concerning results, but I got to tell you, my new effort for 2016 is to test foods and then start publishing those that pass my standards. So I want to start giving sort of voluntary certification or validations to different foods off the shelf and different superfoods and supplements that have an A or better rating on the lowheavymetalsverified.com. Wait a minute, I'm sorry, I think that's .org website. So I want to do that, and that's what I'm working towards. But, look, we're a private organization. Why isn't the federal government doing this? The government has a massive budget, trillions. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think. What is the actual federal budget? Yeah, it's multiple trillions of dollars a year. I think tax revenue from the people is $2 to $3 trillion alone. So yeah, the federal budget is trillions of dollars a year, and the federal debt right now is approaching $20 trillion of national debt. You've got the government supporting the craziest science imaginable, studying just bizarre things like why do birds tilt their heads sideways, or I mean, who knows? What is the speed at which slugs travel versus the variation of temperature gradation? All kinds of just crazy, insane things that they're spending money on. Why aren't they spending money on testing the foods that people eat every day? I mean, we're in a time of runaway diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and Alzheimer's, dementia. This is a huge wave of degenerative disease that's now striking our population. Guess what causes Alzheimer's and dementia? Toxic metals. At least it plays a role. What happens if you eat or ingest too much lead or mercury or aluminum? How much does that contribute to Alzheimer's and dementia? A lot. We don't know exactly how much because they're not studying it to the extent that they should, but we know it's a contributing factor. Well, how much of this are people eating in their foods or getting in dietary supplements? For example, I found 5 parts per million lead in a brown rice protein product. I found 10 parts per million of lead in mangosteen powder from, I think, was that from Thailand? Yeah, that was from Thailand. I've found high levels of cadmium in cacao powder and sometimes sunflower nut butters, things like that. I've found crazy levels of different metals in different foods, and I've tried to publish as much as I can, even though it's going to accelerate a lot more in 2016. But I'm only one guy with one lab, one company. This should be a multi-billion-dollar effort involving sampling foods from every manufacturer off of, all the common store shelves in America. We should be spot checking and testing foods, superfoods, dietary supplements for toxic heavy metals. Why isn't our federal government doing that? Not to say that the federal government is the answer there to everything, because clearly it isn't, because they're not doing this. In fact, the private sector is doing this. I'm doing it, and nobody else is doing this, which is just bizarre. But I want to put this out there since we're looking at a change in command in this country. We might have a Donald Trump in the White House one day. We might have a Ted Cruz. We might have, who else? Who else is even a possibility? We might have Hillary Clinton. God forbid. If we do, I think we should all double our dose of lead just to dull the pain in our brains. But we might have a change in leadership. So I'm going to put my name out there. If any future president, or maybe even better yet, Texas secedes from the United States of America, and we have President Greg Abbott, which would be awesome. Whoever it happens to be, whoever's in charge of the place where I'm hanging out, if you want me to check the safety of all the foods that all your people are eating so we can clean up the food supply, reduce toxic heavy metal contamination, reduce healthcare costs, and improve the cognitive function and the learning capabilities of children and adults alike, then I'm raising my hand. I'm ready to do it. I've got the lab. I have the know-how. I can build the databases. I can do the web publishing. I built a search engine interface system. I built relational databases. I built science.naturalnews.com. We cataloged the entire National Library of Medicine PubMed database, cross-referenced all the keyword systems in that. I built fetch.news, a news aggregation system with real-time updates. I know how to do this. This is not difficult. I've got the lab instrumentation. We've got the ISO accreditation on the way. We've got the processes documented. We have, the space to do it. So I'm just wondering, why isn't there any government anywhere that's sane enough to say, hey, Mr. Health Ranger there, we'd like you to check out what's in all the foods that people are eating everywhere. Because, we've got this problem with Alzheimer's and diabetes and cancer. And yeah, we know there are environmental factors, but there are also food factors. So is it because people are consuming too much lead, cadmium, arsenic, mercury, tungsten, aluminum? What's the deal here? I can help answer that question. And pretty soon I'll be able to answer the question like how much glyphosate is in your organic wheat. or even worse, your non-organic wheat. Or on your alfalfa or whatever. So it's just shocking to me, I look at pop culture and I see what people worship and what people are focused on. And it's celebrity sports and Dancing with the Stars and famous people shaking their booties and twerking on stage. And I think, no wonder people don't care about what's in the food they're eating. They've already suffered the brain damage from the lead. You know what I mean? It's like maybe we're too late. They're too far gone to even realize that they need to clean up their food to stop damaging their brains, because we're a couple of generations too late. They already sprayed lead arsenate all over the crops throughout the 20th century, so everybody's eating too much lead. People are brain damaged. What can you do about it? They're going to twerk their way into the history books of collapse. It's like, what are you going to do? I don't know, but I'm willing to volunteer. That's all I'm saying. I'm willing to volunteer. Let's do like a national Manhattan Project scale research project. Let's look into what people are eating. Let's look into what dietary supplements really contain. Let's look into the protein powders that all these muscle heads and gym rats are eating, and they're getting kidney failure. Why is that? I might have a clue about why that is. Why is it that people can't learn anymore in universities and colleges, and voters can't do basic math? They don't understand economics, national debt, money systems, fiat currency, central banking. They don't even know how a mortgage works, for God's sake. Why is that? Why is our population so brain damaged? It's got to have something to do with what you're eating and what you're taking, the pills you're popping, the medicines, and the dietary supplements that are not clean. It's all related, folks. And we could find the answers if we just had some leadership at some kind of a national level who wanted to say, hey, yeah, let's invest some money into protecting the health of our population. Let's reduce healthcare costs. Let's reduce food contamination. Let's clean up the food supply. Let's have a national effort for clean food. It'd be the best investment you'd ever make. Every penny you invest in that would probably return, it's hard to say, but 10,000% return on savings of healthcare costs. If you prevent cancer, it's super inexpensive to prevent it, but very, very expensive to treat it if you don't catch it. And I'm not saying this is the only cause of cancer. I know there are other causes. Lack of vitamin D, chemical contamination, personal care products with cancer-causing chemicals, hormone mimickers, disruptors, BPA, food packaging chemicals, pesticides, all these things. I'm not saying it's just heavy metals. But shouldn't we find out? And why aren't we? Especially when we have the science, we have the technology, we have the know-how, we can build him. A $6 million man. No, we can do this. We don't have to invent some kind of new fission reaction of enriched uranium as part of the Manhattan Project. This is not some new thing that we have to discover. We can do this. We just have to have the willingness to do it. And the money to do it, obviously. We got to fund it. I wish I could fund the whole thing myself, but I'm not a multi-billionaire. I didn't inherit a bunch of, money to do something like this. Had to earn every penny to build these systems that we have today. So we're going to need some kind of financial support if we do this on a nationwide basis. So, hey, if any of you are out there, maybe you are a billionaire, you want to fund this thing, big project for food safety, clean food, give me a ring. I can make this happen. And I'm very passionate about clean food. So thanks for listening. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. Catch my podcasts at healthrangerreport.com or talknetwork.com or naturalnews.com. Thanks for listening.